Welcome in, everyone, to Lively Lewis Stories.
That's right, we're back with even more awesome adventures with Levi and Ivy.
Set your storytime meter to fun and get ready to join the Lively Lewis crew.
All you need is your imagination and...
Off we go! I can't wait to see where our story takes us today.
Have you ever wanted to get more Lively Lewis in your life?
Well, we've got you covered.
Grab an adult and zoom over to livelylewisshop.com.
Or just click on the link in our show notes.
Enough about that. Let's get to today's super Lively Lewis story.
All right, we have a few shout outs for today's episode. Genevieve, Aubrey, Sarah, Lauren, Ellie and Jefferson, Adrian. Thank you guys so much for the love. We so love reading your guys' story ideas and feedback. So we hope you have a wonderful day and enjoy this story. Levi, are you getting ready for school? Called Levi's mom one morning from the kitchen as she packed his lunch. We can't be late again, Levi. Do you hear me? We can't be late again. Do you hear me? Levi's mom was growing impatient and decided to walk upstairs to see what was taking him so long. Levi, I said, do you hear me? Said his mom, sounding less than pleased that she had to walk all the way upstairs. When she got to Levi's doorway, she watched as her son was lost in a world of make-believe, pretending he was a Pokémon trainer. This may seem unusual to some, but not to Levi's mom, and certainly not to Levi. Lately, he'd been obsessed with Pokémon. Watching the Pokémon TV show, playing Pokémon video games, trading Pokémon cards with his friends, and trying his hardest to become a real Pokémon trainer like Ash. Levi, I hope your training session is going well. I really do, but you have to eat breakfast and get to school, said Levi's mom as she walked into his room. Levi finally acknowledged her being there and turned around. However, his response was not quite what she wanted to hear at that moment, but she knew what to expect. Come on, Levi, let's head downstairs, she said. Pika? Levi said in a low voice as his mom just stared at him, knowing what was coming next. Pika? He went on. Levi, don't, urged his mom as the time to leave for school got closer and closer. But Levi couldn't help himself as he was so caught up in his pretend Pokemon universe. Pikachu! Exclaimed Levi as he ran around the room and then down the hallway. She followed him downstairs in the kitchen with a sigh. I thought that's what Pikachu says, and aren't you supposed to be a trainer? She asked, trying to play along. She wanted to encourage Levi's love of Pokemon and his growing imagination, but she also felt it was getting a little bit out of hand. Levi would communicate in Pokemon speak throughout the day, while his mom, dad, and sister just politely nodded as he tried to carry on full conversations with them. He would often ask to eat berry bowls like many of the Pokemon eat, but recently he suggested that they change their dog's name to Charizard, and his mom had to draw the line. Levi, it's great that you like Pokemon so much, but you do understand that it's not real, right? She asked, not wanting to hurt his feelings. I mean, it's fun to pretend you're a Pokemon trainer in video games or talk like Pikachu with your friends, but I think you really need to concentrate a little bit more on your schoolwork and helping at home. Levi knew exactly what his mom was referring to regarding his schoolwork. When he showed her his latest history test, she wasn't happy with the grade or the fact that his answer to the question, who was the first president of the United States, was Dragonite. Pika? Levi began in a soft voice before he said, I know, Mom. I just really love the way playing Pokemon makes me feel. Being a trainer would be amazing. Just imagine exploring a newly discovered Pokemon region, maybe one of the faraway islands, and using my Pokeball to recruit and then train the greatest collection of Pokemon that the world had ever seen. Levi was so excited when he talked about Pokemon, his mom could not be mad at him. However, she knew he had to step back into reality, his reality, more often than not, and do the things that Levi, the little boy, needed to do, instead of only thinking of what Levi, the Pokemon trainer, wanted to do. Levi, that all sounds wonderful, but what about the soccer practice and riding bikes with Ivy and your friends or helping Dad rake leaves in the backyard? Began his mom. These are all things you've been avoiding or not doing because you're so wrapped up with your Pokemon. The giant smile that spread across Levi's face when he spoke about his next Pokemon quest quickly turned to a frown when the reality of his mom's words finally sunk in. Maybe she's right, he thought to himself at that moment. Maybe I'll never be a Pokemon trainer. Maybe it's all just make-believe. Maybe I should forget all about Pokemon. The more Levi thought about it, the sadder he got. As he sat at the kitchen table pushing his cereal around his bowl, he had remembered he had put something special in his pocket to take to school. It was his most prized possession, his mint condition Pikachu Pokémon card. As he looked at the card, the smile returned to his face. Even if his mom didn't believe he could be a Pokémon trainer, he believed it, and that's all that mattered. But to make her feel like he was listening, Levi said, "You're right, Mom. I'm going to cut back on Pokémon from now on. I'll concentrate on school more and even go bike riding with Ivy when we get home this afternoon." "Wow, that's great to hear, bud," said his mom. "And I'm not saying you should get rid of all your Pokémon stuff or stop pretending to be a trainer or never play the card game again. I'm just saying give it a break, just for a bit." Levi nodded and grabbed his book bag. "Come on, Ivy, it's time for school." Levi called out to his sister who was playing in the playroom as she waited for her brother. "Levi, don't forget your new Wiggly Pop sweatshirt," called out his mom, tossing a sweatshirt at him as he stood by the door. Levi laughed before correcting his mom. "The character is called Jigglypuff, Mom, not Wiggly Pop." "Sorry, all those names are hard to keep track of," said his mom with a giggle. "But I'd never forget Bubblesaurus. He's my favorite." Levi almost couldn't speak because he was laughing so hard at that mispronunciation. "Mom, it's Bulbasaur, but thanks for trying. We'll see you after school," called out Levi as he and Ivy walked out the front door. The whole day at school, Levi was more distracted than ever. After the talk with his mom, he was even more determined than ever to prove to her that he could be a Pokémon trainer. He tried his hardest to concentrate while in class, but as soon as school was over, he grabbed his things and headed home with Ivy. "Ivy, do you think I could be a Pokémon trainer?" asked Levi as they walked to their front yard. "If there's one thing I know for sure, it's that if anyone in this neighborhood was going to be a Pokémon trainer, it would 100% be you, Levi," answered Ivy with a giggle. "You know more about Pokémon than Ash Ketchum, and that's the truth. I think you can do anything you set your mind to. And if you do get to be a trainer one day, can you make sure Evie is on your team? She's my favorite." Levi smiled at his sister, happy that she believed in him and excited to show her that he could really do it someday. When they got home, Levi did just what he told his mom he'd do before he left that morning. He rode bikes with Ivy and even helped his dad rake leaves in the backyard before he practiced a little soccer. Then, after all of that, he headed inside to do his homework and eat dinner. "No Pokémon at all today?" questioned Levi's mom with a smile over dinner. "That must have been tough for you. So I think you deserve a little Pokémon time now. Why don't you watch a Pokémon episode or play one of your video games? Maybe you could be my favorite character, Salamander." "Mom, I think you mean Charmander," laughed Ivy. "Even I know that one." "Oh, right, Charmander," she said, correcting herself. "I told Levi I could never keep the names of those little cuties straight." "Thanks, Mom, but I'm all good," replied Levi. "I think I'm just going to head to bed after I read for a little bit." But what Levi really meant was that he was going to his room to continue his Pokémon trainer training. If he wanted to be like Ash Ketchum one day, he had to work extra hard. "Okay, Levi, but I didn't mean you had to stop doing all the Pokémon things you love," said his mom, feeling as if she was too harsh with Levi earlier that morning. "No, Mom, I understand. I think I needed a little break too," said Levi. Levi cleared his plate from the table and headed up to his room with Ivy close behind. "Are you really taking a break from Pokémon, Levi?" she asked, sounding really surprised. "Not a chance," answered Levi. "I'm still training to be the greatest Pokémon trainer the world has ever seen. It's just that Mom thinks I'm concentrating a little too much on it, so I decided not to tell her. One day when I'm leading an unstoppable group of Pokémon into battle, then she'll see that all the hard work was for and be really proud of me." "But Levi, Mom is proud of you no matter what you do," said Ivy. "Never forget that." Levi nodded to his sister before heading into his room. He grabbed his favorite Pikachu stuffed toy and hugged it so close as he sat on the bed. "You believe that I can be a Pokémon trainer, right, Pikachu?" Levi asked the stuffed toy. It didn't answer back, but Levi knew in his heart that Pikachu and all the other Pokémon were rooting for him to reach his goal. Levi yawned after having quite a long day and decided to just head to bed rather than training that night. As he drifted off to sleep, Levi held his Pikachu tight, thinking of all the amazing Pokémon dreams he could have. Dreams where Mewtwo, Snorlax, and Rayquaza were all his friends. Where he trained side by side with Ash Ketchum and his mom could see that it wasn't all make-believe. She would see that he had what it took to be a great Pokémon trainer, and she would never question his love of Pokémon ever again. Well, that night something amazing happened, and something that Levi would never forget. As he held onto his Pikachu toy, he wished that he would wake up in a world where Pokémon were real. And maybe it was his dedication to the Pokémon world, or that his wish was so honest and sincere, But the next day, when Levi opened his eyes, he found out his wish had come true. He found himself in a dense forest with Pokémon chirping, scurrying, and flying about. But that wasn't all. Standing right there in front of him as he hopped out of bed was none other than Ash Ketchum? You're Ash Ketchum! Replied Levi as he ran toward the famed Pokémon trainer. I can't believe it! It's really you! You're the best Pokémon trainer in the world, and I practice every day to be just like you. Do you think, if you have time, do you think you could train you? Ash said, finishing Levi's question with a smile. Of course, that's why I'm here. The Pokémon world has been buzzing with talk of a boy who possesses great power, dedication, and magic. The kind of magic that, if properly harnessed and trained, will set him apart from other Pokémon trainers all over this land. Levi could not believe what he was hearing, and then suddenly Ash pointed over Levi's shoulder and said, "And here's the Pokémon who's been talking all about you." When Levi turned around, he was so happy to see his very own Pikachu stuffed animal running toward him. "Pikachu told me all about you," said Ash with a smile, "and I can't wait to see if it's all true." "Pika Pika! Pika Pika!" called out Pikachu as he ran to Levi, jumped into his arms. Levi was so happy to see his friend that he gave him a huge hug. "I knew you believed in me, Pikachu," Levi whispered to his friend before putting him back down on the ground. Ash saw how excited Levi was and gave him a few minutes to look around and absorb the amazingness of the situation before asking, "You may be wondering, what is this place and why am I here?" "Yeah, that's exactly what I was wondering," said Levi as he looked around with wide eyes. That's when Ash went on to tell Levi that he was now in a special Pokémon universe, created just for Pokémon enthusiasts who are allowed to enter when their dedication to the Pokémon world reaches a certain level. "You have reached that level, Levi," Ash began. "We all feel that you are ready to become a trainer, but you need some one-on-one training from me first." "That would be wonderful. I've dreamed of this happening forever," exclaimed Levi. "Thank you so much." "But what did you mean when you said we feel that you're ready? Who else is here?" Ash simply waved his hand and summoned a troop of Pokémon who stepped forward to welcome Levi. There was Charizard, Mewtwo, Jigglypuff, Eevee, Charmander, and even Bulbasaur. Levi couldn't help but laugh to himself as he saw some of the Pokémon, thinking of his mom's funny way of pronouncing their names. And at that moment, he missed home. Thinking of his mom, he wondered when he would get back home to see her and his dad and Ivy again. How long would his training take, and would he want to leave when it was all over? But this was all too much to think about just then, and Levi didn't want to miss a second of what was going on around him. So instead of thinking of home, Levi turned all his attention to the amazing, once-in-a-lifetime adventure that lay before him. "You just have the kind of energy we need here," said Ash. "The kind of energy, drive, and natural ability that will make you a great Pokémon trainer. So will you let me train you?" Levi couldn't say yes fast enough and agreed to head out with Ash to find some Pokémons and form a group. As Levi, Ash, and Pikachu traveled the land, they discussed 3 primary goals for any great Pokémon trainer. 1, explore the Pokémon world. 2, complete their Pokédex by recruiting all new available Pokémon. And 3, train a team of up to 6 Pokémon and engage in battle. As all the 3 friends made their way across the vast landscapes through haunting forests and over hills and valleys, Levi learned more than he ever thought possible. He learned the ways of each Pokémon, how to gauge their ability to help his group, how to work with their special skills, and also what special skills he possessed that he didn't even know of. But above all that, Levi learned about friendship, perseverance, and believing in yourself. There were several times as Levi followed Ash through different parts of his special Pokémon universe that he didn't know if he could make it. He doubted his ability and wanted to turn back. But Ash and Pikachu trusted in him, believed in him, and cheered him on. And after completing what Levi thought was once impossible, he felt a level of pride that he had never felt before. But no matter how well he was taking to his new role as soon-to-be Pokémon trainer, Levi could not stop thinking of one person back home. His mom. "Do you wish your mom could see you now, Levi?" asked Ash as they sat around a campfire after a long day of exploring and recruiting Pokémon. Levi had told him all about the talk he had with his mom the day before he showed up there. "Yeah, I really do," answered Levi, looking a bit sad. "I know she's proud of me no matter what I do, but I'm really proud of this, and I want her to see that." Ash tried his best to assure Levi that he would get to tell his mom all about this amazing adventure soon, and that she would be so proud of all he had accomplished. But first, Levi needed to turn all his attention to a giant Pokémon battle that was coming up the very next day. The battle put into practice all the training Levi and Ash had been doing over the course of the last few days. Levi had made so much progress in such a short time, Ash knew he truly had what it took to be a great Pokémon trainer. He just had to believe in himself and show everyone how great he was. But it wouldn't be easy. Levi was up against a very, very difficult trainer named Cynthia. She was very powerful and the reigning champion of the Sinnoh region. "I've heard a lot about you, Levi," Cynthia called out from across the gym, as the next battle was set to start. "I guess we'll see if you're as good as all the Pokémon say you are." Levi didn't let her intimidating tone scare him, as he got together with Ash and Pikachu for one last talk before the battle began. "You're ready for this, Levi. You just have to believe that you are," Ash began. "You know that these battles are friendly in nature, and since this is your first battle, we will not be competing to take over Cynthia's gym. Instead, this battle will serve to prove if you really should be a Pokémon trainer." Pikachu looked up to his friend. He could see that Levi was nervous, but he could also see the spark in his eye. A spark that Pikachu always knew was there, and a spark that would get Levi to the end of this battle as the winner. Just like the Pokémon that you trained, Levi. When you win this battle, you will gain experience and become stronger. You will be able to unlock new levels within yourself and within the Pokémon that you train. This battle will test you as much as you test your Pokémon. Good luck, Levi, Ash said as he shook Levi's hand and headed off to the stands with Pikachu. But before he left Levi's side, Pikachu gave his friend one last piece of advice. Pikachu, he said with a knowing look. "Thank you, Pikachu, for always believing in me and for bringing me here," Levi said. "I hope I make you and Ash proud." But as Levi was saying that, he wasn't just thinking of Pikachu and Ash. He was thinking of his mom as well. However, before Levi could give that thought one more moment of his time, the battle was underway. He had to turn all his attention to his Pokémon team and focus all his effort on beating Cynthia. The battle started off slowly, with each team of 6 Pokémon sizing each other up. Then as they got comfortable, the real excitement began. Levi had trained them all well as his Pokémon smashed, snarled, and boom-bursted their way through the battle. It was one quick attack after another as Cynthia's team proved to be very skilled. Hyper Beam zigzagged through the gym as eruptions rocked the ground they stood on. "We can do this, Pokémon!" called out Levi over the sound of crashing and slamming all around. "I believe in you!" At that moment, Levi's team seemed to join forces and become one. The battle was theirs to win, and they knew it. They set up Ivy, who of course Levi recruited because it was Ivy's favorite, to perform one of her best finishing moves, the Tail Whip. It worked perfectly, and the last of Cynthia's Pokémon lay on the floor exhausted after an epic battle. "We did it!" cheered Levi as he congratulated his team. "You did it!" shouted Ash with Pikachu close behind. "I told you I believed in you, and I knew you could do it." Then Levi heard a voice that he recognized cut through the crowd and all the excitement. "I always believed in you too," said a young girl who, much to Levi's surprise, looked just like his mom. She was younger then and with a look of childish wonder and magic in her eyes. "You did a wonderful job, and I always knew you could. I am so proud of you, Levi." "Mom, is that you?" blurted out Levi, almost too surprised to speak. But just then, the crowd pushed in and around Levi, Ash, Pikachu, Cynthia, and the rest of the Pokémon, and the young girl got caught up in the crowd and disappeared from view. "Ash, I think that was my mom, but I can't be sure," said Levi, looking around wildly for the young girl. "Levi, I couldn't tell you this before. You had to discover it on your own. But yes, that was your mom," Ash told Levi. "When she was a child, she joined us here in the special Pokémon universe because she had the gift that you have now. However, it was too much for her to handle, and after a short stay here, she vowed to never compete again. When she saw how good you were at Pokémon, she was scared that it would end up the same way for you." Levi finally understood it all now. "Why didn't she ever tell me?" Levi asked Ash. "It was a long time ago, and while she remembers some of it, she most likely thinks it was all just some unbelievable dream," answered Ash. "But I have to ask, now that you have won the battle, proved yourself, and won the approval of your mom, will you be staying with us here as the newest Pokémon trainer?" Levi couldn't believe the opportunity before him. It's what he always wanted, but as he stood there among the cheering crowd and all his Pokémon universe friends, he couldn't stop looking for his mom in the crowd. He knew then that his decision was made. He told Ash he had to leave, but that he would be eternally grateful for everything that he learned from him. "It was a pleasure to meet you and train you, Levi," said Ash. "Remember, this universe is open to you whenever you'd like to return." Ash smiled and shook Levi's hand as Pikachu jumped into his arms. He would be returning to the real world with Levi, but as his favorite stuffed toy once again. As Levi waved goodbye to the special Pokémon universe, he closed his eyes and felt himself being lulled to sleep. When he woke up, he discovered that he was back in his room. Pikachu was back to being a stuffed toy. Ash Ketchum was nowhere to be found, and his room was just a room, no longer the forest in a special Pokémon universe. That was one unbelievable dream, Levi whispered to himself as something shiny caught his eye sitting in the corner of his night table. It was a trophy from the Pokémon battle he had won and a note from Ash that read, "We didn't want you to forget this cool souvenir of your time here with us. See you soon, Ash." Levi was hiding the trophy as his mom walked into his room. "Morning, Levi. I have been thinking about you all night, and I just wanted to let you know that I'm so proud of all the hard work you put into your Pokémon activities," his mom began. "You know, I was a kid once too, and I played games like this. I was pretty good too. I just don't want you to get so wrapped up in it that you lose sight of what's here at home. But I love you so much, and I always believe in all that you do." Levi didn't say a word, but instead hugged his mom tight, and as he did, she glanced over and saw the trophy sitting on his bed. "That's so strange," she said, picking up the trophy. "I had a little toy trophy that looked just like this when I was a little girl. I don't remember where I got it, but I always loved it. I think I know where it came from," said Levi with a smirk. "Thank you, Mom, for always being my biggest fan. What do you say we have your favorite Pokemon berry bowls for breakfast this morning?" she asked, walking out of Levi's room. "Actually, I'm all set with Pokemon snacks for a while," answered Levi. "How about just some good old-fashioned pancakes?" "Sounds good to me," said his mom. "And while I make them, can you tell me all about your Pokemon training? It does sound really interesting." "It is, Mom, and I bet you'd be really good at it," said Levi as he turned and looked at the Pikachu stuffed toy on his bed, which gave him a quick little wink as Levi followed his mom downstairs. Thanks for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed the story and learned a little something too.
And since we know everyone has their own story, we'd love to hear yours.
If you have an idea for a Lively Lewis story, leave a comment on our Apple Podcast review page with 5 stars, your idea, and your little one's name.
Then maybe our next adventure will be with you.
Until our next Storytime Hangout.
Thanks for listening. We can't wait to share another fun Lively Lewis story with you.